George Balanchine's Tchaikovsky Pas de Deux is a short 8-minute work filled with explosive energy. It is a global fan favorite, performed regularly by various companies and highlighted in galas. In this video, I examine two of my favorite versions on YouTube, by Mikhail Baryshnikov and Julio Bocca. The variations, separated by about a decade, reveal extraordinary athleticism and technique, pushing the boundaries of ballet. These variations were preeminent and have stood the test of time. A brief background before getting to the video. Balanchine is recognized as one of the most influential choreographers of the 20th century. He co-founded New York City Ballet in 1948 and was its artistic director until his death in 1983. Background on the work. For the original 1877 production of Swan Lake in Moscow, Tchaikovsky composed a Pas de Deux for Act 3 at the request of a ballerina who was one of the first dancers in the role. Since it was composed later than the rest of the music, it was not included in the published score and not available to Marius Petipa when he choreographed his classic Swan Lake version in 1895. Over a half-century later, the complete and original Swan Lake score was found, including an appendix with the lost Pas de Deux. Upon hearing of its discovery, Balanchine asked for and was granted permission to use it for his own choreography. The result is Balanchine's 1960 work Tchaikovsky Pas de Deux, an 8-minute demonstration of ballet bravura and technique. Let's first take a look at Baryshnikov's variation. After he defected from the Soviet Union in 1974, he joined American Ballet Theater. In 1978, Baryshnikov joined the New York City Ballet to work with Balanchine. He was with the company for 15 months. In 1980, he returned to ABT as the artistic director, where he also danced like a player, coach in sports a la Frank Robinson in baseball, and Bill Russell in basketball. Here is Baryshnikov in 1978 at age 30, with Patricia McBride in a made-for-TV segment. His variation is very standard, similar to many other versions I have seen at the New York City Ballet and on YouTube, but it contains interesting innovations that put his stamp on the work. Take a look at the 1-minute variation, and I will be back with commentary. The variation starts with double cabriole derrière, which is 2 beats to the back with a big glissade preparation. Baryshnikov had powerful cabrioles with large separation between beats. As was customary for him, he shows off substantial height on his jumps. The perspectives of the two freeze-frame shots are different, but it appears that the distance he is in the air is at least half of his height of 5 foot 6 inches, which would be 33 inches off the ground. Amazing athleticism. Then a transition step into 2 more double cabriole segments, a powerful and clean opening of the solo. He goes downstage right for his second part. Traveling from stage right to left, he does a sisson développé to a coupé assemblé derrière. A sisson is a leap off of 2 feet to 1. The développé is the drawing up of his leg to retirer to an extension to second position. After landing, he does a coupé or cutting step with his right foot, enabling him to do an assemblé, which is an assembling step from 1 foot to 2, landing in 5th position going backwards. On his second sisson with right foot in front, he does a small beat with left leg in front, switching to right leg in front, landing on his left leg to a coupé assemblé. He then does the step with a développé on the third series, then with beats for the fourth. His head position differs on the sisson segment. When he does the sisson développé, his head is turned to the right. On his sisson with beats, he looks left. Baryshnikov finishes the segment with 4 entre-chassis, a beating step where the legs start with right in front, switch to left, back to right, and finally ending with left leg in front. He is clearly articulated, clean beats, with arms flowing to a high V-shaped stylized arm position. For his last beat, he tilts his head to the right with a wide opening for flair and emphasis. Gorgeous work. In the third and last segment, the dancer travels upstage for a double tour combination. with a coupe cutting step into a ballonnet, which is a leap off of one foot, extending the leg to the side and landing in retiré, foot to the knee, followed by another coupe into an assemblé to a double tour. Baryshnikov adds 2 innovations to put his stamp on the segment. First, for the second series, he turns to stage right to the corner with his shoulders. He then does a circling motion with his foot or rond de jambe as his leg hits the side. On all 3 series, he does double tours with right arm overhead and left to his side for additional flavor. The tempo is fast, so he has to move quickly into a pirouette. A quick preparation is facilitated by his wide fourth position, a common feature in Russian training. He saves time by not going to a proper fourth position, with foot directly behind him. This is in contrast to Balanchine, who preferred dancers to take a wide fourth position with straight back leg. Baryshnikov finishes his impressive variation with 4 clean pirouettes to a unique finish, a fouette leap to a lunge in fourth position. Haven't seen that leap much. This is a wonderful example of Balanchine's classic, filled with refined athleticism and technique. My other favorite is from Julio Bocca, likely from the late 1980s when he was in his early 20s. Baryshnikov had a major influence on Julio's career. Julio won the gold medal in the International Ballet Competition in Moscow in 1985. Baryshnikov, then artistic director of ABT, was impressed by a tape of his performance there and asked him to come to New York to audition. The day after his audition, Baryshnikov invited him to join the company as a principal dancer, an extremely rare honor for a 19-year-old. Julio was a global superstar until his retirement in 2007. Julio's version takes the considerable athleticism of the standard version up several notches, resulting in a spectacular explosion of rarely performed steps. The modifications certainly play to his strengths. Julio's steps are substantially different. I'm not sure if a dancer needs clearance from the owner of the work, the George Balanchine Trust, to make substantial modifications from the standard version. Let me know in the comments section if you have thoughts. Take a look and I will be back. Julio starts his variation with a large glissade into a double cabriole derrière or 2 beats to the back. Some dancers like Baryshnikov have a substantial opening on the beats, but Julio's doubles were modest, instead emphasizing the landing with back leg in high arabesque. He then does a preparation for a double tour, a chasse into a step through assemblée, then a double tour in retiré to a lunge in fourth position. He then repeats the glissade to a double cabriole derrière. He then runs to the corner for a diagonal. We saw that the standard version calls for a Cézanne segment from one side of the stage to another. Julio's segment is much different, which is a series of double tours. He does a step that looks like an arabesque sauté, but closes his back leg, as in an assemblée derrière, as a preparation into a double tour in retiré. He does this 3 times. On his last tour segment, he does something jaw-dropping, 4 consecutive double tours, all with great form, landing in tight 5th positions. Consecutive double tours are extremely difficult, and I have seen some great dancers botch it in various solos. Stringing together 4 tours requires precise placement. Anything off-kilter would lead to disaster. Note that he does 2 full rotations on each tour, a requirement for executing the step. Less than 2 full rotations on a tour means that the dancer would have to make up the shortfall on the next tour, probably resulting in a termination of the segment. His legs and toes are stretched on his tour with tight 5th positions. Gorgeous technique on an extremely difficult movement. Julio was very proficient at multiple tours and employed the tours in his Don Quixote variations. Check out my videos at the end for more info on consecutive tours and Julio's Don Quixote variations. After his last tour, he goes to stage left to start his next segment with a subtle touch. This is a signature movement from Julio, and I have seen him do it many times. Rather than simply running to the corner, he adds dramatic flair by taking several slow, deliberate steps, arching his back and looking almost straight up. This is an example of a dancer adding a nuance that makes a big difference in the overall presentation of the variation. Rather than the standard double tour segment from upstage to downstage, Julio does a splendid double ensemble en manège. An ensemble is an assembling step in which the dancer takes off on one foot, assembles the legs, and lands in fifth position. The more formal name is a grand ensemble en tournant, in this case done in a circle or en manège. This segment is prominent in the Solor variation in La Bayadère. Here, Julio takes 3 big steps for a preparation, launching into the air with his left leg. He does just shy of 2 rotations in the air, landing in fifth position as he spots his head to facilitate turning. He completes 5 ensembles in a circle. The sequence is difficult to do with proper form because of the stamina necessary to string together so many energy-sapping leaps. Several things make this sequence special. First, look how much distance he travels between his ensembles. He travels a great distance in his 3-step preparation between ensembles. By traveling so much, he makes the segment much more commanding. Dancers that don't move out look weak, making the step look ineffectual, even if the ensembles are done properly. Also note that he does not stay in fifth position long after landing as he pops up into his preparation for the next leap. His wonderful flow adds to the excitement of the series. Julio finishes with a quick ensemble, then a tendu de second with a rapid triple pirouette to stay with the music. Then a sisson to a lunge. Note how Julio is not even breathing hard after an arduous variation. These are my favorite versions of Tchaikovsky Suite. What are your thoughts on the work and your favorites? Would love to hear from you in the comment section. Thanks for tuning in.